And make sure when you drop that screw, it falls somewhere underneath the seat where you can't find it. That will also really help the process. What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And today we are doing some moonlight repairs or upgrades on the WJ. And if you haven't seen the previous video, the wife sold the house with the big garage. We're building a new one. That's why we are in the temporary location here. And I'm out in the dark with some lights doing Jeep repairs or upgrades, I guess, in this case. But we're still going to be doing it. We're just going to be working in the dark most of the time, but we'll hopefully have adequate lighting and we'll hopefully see what we can do. But today we are going to be doing a kind of cool factory upgrade on the new white Jeep Grand Cherokee that I picked up last weekend or two or whatever. We are going to be hopefully adding automatic headlights. Now, this is a low trim level Laredo. Didn't have a lot of options, and one of the things it is missing is auto headlights. Now, no, that's not that big of a deal, but the wife is going to be driving this thing, and it will just be more convenient to have auto headlights and not even have to worry about it, because all of our previous vehicles have been nice new vehicles with auto headlights, and it'll just be one less thing she has to do and worry about while she's driving, because she has been driving my 99 Jeep Grand Cherokee, which is a super loaded up high trim level Laredo. It has auto headlights and all the other stuff, leather. So we're going to be adding it to the new 2001 Jeep Grand Cherokee because it's supposedly a super quick and easy upgrade. So here are all of the parts we need. And these were just from the local salvage yard. So what we need is a headlamp switch, and you will specifically need one. I still need to clean this up, don't mind that, but we need one with the auto position, and I grabbed one with fog light. So if you turn it and then pull out, the fog light position is when you pull out on it. And last but not least, we need the sun load sensor, and that is the little photo eye that sits up on top of the dash and looks at the amount of sun load and tells the body control module whether to turn on or off the headlights. Because if we take a look, we already have the blank plug on the dash for the sun load sensor for the Jeeps that didn't get optioned that way. So we should just need to plug in our sun load sensor, replace our multi-function switch over here, and in theory we should have auto headlights. Now, I have never done this before, so we will hopefully be learning together, but I guess you guys probably won't see this video if it doesn't work because, of course, I don't want to just be making up stuff. So hopefully you see the video, hopefully it works, and we get a cool factory option that was only like $10 for the switch at the salvage yard. So for 10 bucks, you can add a feature. That's pretty cool. So guys, step one of this repair, we are going to need to remove the instrument cluster because the connector for our sun load sensor on the Jeeps that weren't factory equipped is taped up behind the instrument cluster. So we need to get this thing out of the way so we can get our wiring fed up through. Now, I have already pulled the screws for the cluster just because I honestly have never done this before and had no idea if the wiring connector was going to be back there. So I've cheated a little bit and pulled it, but this lower trim panel right here needs to be removed, and you just pull towards yourself and then that trim panel comes out. Now the instrument cluster, there is a screw here that goes straight up, and then there are two additional screws just kind of lower of the gauges. So once you get those two screws and those two screws out of the way, we will pull this instrument cluster. It does help if you tilt the steering wheel down all the way. It gives you just a little bit more room to slide the cluster out. And once you get the cluster out, there's just going to be one big connector here on the back, and you can set that thing aside. So now if we go hunting for the connector, we can see the foam and a little bit of old tape here holding the sun load sensor connector up on that dash piece. So it looks like it is a true thing. All of them got wired, but only the ones that got optioned actually got the sensor plugged in. So we're going to need to remove this whole front cowl panel so we can get the wiring tucked up into place. And for that, I'm just going to use this trim tool so we can get under the front cowl panel and work it from side to side, and eventually that thing will pop up and come out of there. So now we need to fish this wire from here up into this area. You can see we've got even 2 screws from the factory where that sun load sensor goes. They just didn't put one in. And getting that wiring there is really not too big of an issue. There is a decent little pathway. All right, so we've got that wiring tucked through. Like I said, there's a small little gap. You can use that trim tool to help kind of feed the wiring harness through. So now to actually install the sun load sensor, we're going to need to make sure we put it the right way. I think you could probably mount it both ways, but the correct way is with the little red eyeball looking at the driver and the white or clear little photocell looking forward towards the windshield. So at least in my case, I've already got 2 7mm screws up there that I'm going to take out, plug the sensor in, and then we'll put the screws back in. Now that we've got that sensor plugged in, we will try to get our screws started without dropping both screws down the dashboard. And now we can get our cowl panel put back in, but we are obviously going to need to pop out the blank or delete for that sun load sensor. Now that we've got that sun load sensor and cowl panel put back on, we can throw our instrument cluster back in. And again, that's just that single connector here on the back of it. And then we will tuck it back in place. And we can throw the 4 screws that we took out back in. So now, last but not least, we've got to replace the multi-function switch, and that will require pulling all of the steering column shroud, which on a WJ is pretty darn easy. We've got a single Phillips screw that we will need to take out. And make sure when you drop that screw, it falls somewhere underneath the seat where you can't find it. That will also really help the process. And then we are just going to simply pull the 2 shrouds apart, and the clips will pop, and then we can see the multi-function switch. We've got a screw here on the bottom, a screw here on the top, and then 1 single connector here on the bottom. So if we unplug that, take our same Phillips, and get both of those out, we can just simply pull the multi-function switch out of the vehicle. It will slide out of the steering column. And again, just as easily, we will take our new used multi-function switch, slide it in, get our 2 screws put back in, get our electrical connector plugged back in, and we should be in business. Now we can throw our steering column shrouds back on, and one thing I do notice is this would be a really good time to clean all of this filthy, nasty trim, steering wheel, all the stuff we have off. Kind of makes cleaning really, really nice. But we'll get the trim on, we'll see if the auto headlights work, and hopefully we'll have one more option on this thing. And then obviously, lastly, we can throw the closeout panel here that goes in front of the instrument cluster on, and we've got everything taken care of. Now, let's see, do just the normal headlights work? So with the key off, I can turn the headlights on. I've got all of everything working. I've got normal headlights, high beams, everything seems to be normal. Now, if I turn on the auto position, the headlights turned off like they should, but when I start this thing, the headlights should come on because our little photo sensor is seeing that it is dark out. Oof. And guys, just like that, headlights are on. We've got dash lights, we've got auto headlights here on a Jeep that didn't originally have it. Now, another thing this switch does have is the fog lamp switch. And we, as you can see, already have an indicator coming on the dash. Now, there's a few more parts and pieces that we would need to add to make fog lights work, and maybe we'll do that in a future video, but I wanted to get auto headlights working on this Jeep that originally didn't have it. And are auto headlights necessary? No, absolutely not. But is it cool to add a factory option for like $10 or $15 with some salvage yard parts and a few minutes of your time? Yes, absolutely cool. I don't know. Again, guys, I kind of like that OEM plus look where you're just adding things that could have been, would have been maybe there on the vehicle. And that's kind of what we did today. But yeah, it's auto headlights, but I don't know, pretty cool that everything's there. The wiring is there, the programming is there. You just need the sensor and the switch, and you could have auto headlights on your old, tired, broken Jeep Grand Cherokee sitting in your driveway. So guys, hopefully if you've got a Jeep Grand Cherokee without auto headlights, this is a very informative video. And even if you don't, it's an interesting video seeing how easy it is to add options on some old vehicles versus modern vehicles where you're programming, adding sales codes, doing vehicle reconfiguration, all the crazy things I've got to do to add simple add-ons at the dealership. I just did this in my driveway in the dark at night with some lights and a screwdriver, and I've got auto headlights. I don't know, pretty cool to me. Let me know down in the comments, what option would you add on your vehicle if you could add it with a few minutes and a screwdriver? And guys, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.